We have talked about the motor skills domain, or the psychomotor domain, where we have imitation, manipulation, and precision. And then we talked about the affective domain, where we go through a process of receiving, believing, acting upon, becoming the information that we are told. So receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, characterization. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about the fun one. For all you brainiacs, this is the fun one. It's called Bloom's Taxonomy. B-L-O-O-M'(S) taxonomy. And Bloom's taxonomy of the cognitive domain. Okay? Now, just to tell you a little story, the only reason it's called, there was 5 or 6 men who collaborated on organizing these and giving these particular names to these levels. What Bloom and his friends did is nothing new. Fact of the matter is, we can see it, if we look for it, we can see it in the Bible. Different levels of understanding and knowledge and all, whatever. But they put these terms to it and these labels on it that the rest of the world has said, that makes sense, let's use that naming convention. Okay? For that matter, Carlos Linnaeus gave us kingdom whatever, right? Does the Bible have a classification system? Yeah. Kinds. And there's other words. I'm not the Creation Museum. I'm just a little part of the, no. But there's beasts, creeping things, right? So the Bible has some classification system too. So just because some guy came along and did it doesn't mean they invented it. They discovered it. They put a set of labels on it that rings true and is easy for people to accept and work within. So Bloom and his buddies gave us these 6 levels and titles. The reason it's called Bloom is because his last name started with the letter earliest in the alphabet. Because there was enough people involved in this project that you say Bloom et al. And the title of the work. So everyone else, all the et als are unnamed, and maybe they were smarter than Bloom, for that matter. They're probably all pretty intelligent. But that's just a little story. Okay? So Bloom's taxonomy of the cognitive domain. So let's see how well we've been paying attention. What is the first level of mental facilities? What's the first level in the cognitive domain? Everybody should know this. How many have a good idea? How many don't have a good idea? See, now, Davey, you should have a really good idea. Now, that should be a hint to the rest of you. How many have a good idea? Okay, so some more people caught on. Dave, what was your last answer in this class? Memory. And I said that's in the cognitive domain. I said that's the first level, right? So memory. So when you remember something, in this sense that we're talking about memory of a piece of information. Okay? So memory of a piece of information. We would call that knowledge. All right? Knowledge. So if you have memory there, bump it over and put knowledge. Knowledge is the label for this level. Memory is kind of the same thing as knowledge. For some, that might be an easier way to remember it, but knowledge is the label. Lots of people know lots of stuff. In fact, in the realm of the cognitive domain, more people know stuff than understand stuff. Right? Some people know things. In fact, a lot of people know stuff that they don't understand. Right? So now that's why knowledge and memory is at the base, is the first level. How many of you have met a third grader that can quote something and have no idea what they're quoting? A third grader probably could quote the Gettysburg Address. They might probably know who first said the Gettysburg Address. But do they understand government by the people, of the people, and for the people? Do they understand where that phrase came from and what ideas that was evoking in the people that? No, they don't understand that. They just know the words to the Gettysburg Address. So, knowledge. Knowledge is the first level. Does the Bible talk about knowledge in a way different than other levels? Can you think of some? What are some other things that the Bible says about the cognitive domain? Other terms that the Bible uses about the cognitive domain? Wisdom. Sure. What is wisdom? Let's take it out of the spiritual. I know everything is spiritual, but let's take it out of the spiritual. What is wisdom? I know you've heard people say things. You might say something else that I'm thinking of. Jacob, what do you think? What's
the use of knowledge properly? Like you have information, so you use it to make a better decision.
Okay, so wisdom is using knowledge the right way, possibly. Okay, don't write it down. We'll bring that in later. Okay? What's between knowledge and wisdom? If knowledge is knowing something and just knowing it, only knowing it, what's between knowledge and wisdom? Bible word. Fill in the blank. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Okay? The educational word is going to be comprehension. Okay? Knowledge and then comprehension. Okay? We really have to comprehend something before we can take that piece of knowledge and use it in the right way. Use it wisely, right? So we know something, we understand what it is, we understand how it relates to other things, and then we use it wisely. Okay? So I would say the Bible gives us about 3 levels of the cognitive domain. Educators have knowledge, comprehension, and then let's say they divide wisdom into some other particular areas. In fact, go ahead and draw this. If we're going to pick one way to picture the cognitive domain is in a circle. Okay? Do that with your computer. Okay? So I know you could, but it's going to take a few more keystrokes. So this is knowledge. The circle is knowledge. And inside knowledge is comprehension. Okay? And let's say inside comprehension is wisdom. And wisdom has 4 particular ways it can go. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? So knowledge, comprehension, and then, let me get it, other people have organized it in other ways, and I want to put it in that order. So then we have application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Okay? So, those are the 6 labels. Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Now, let's I'll give you a little idea of what those last 4 are, and hopefully I can remember to remind us of how all of those are like a subset of what we would call wisdom. Okay, so application. Application is when you transfer knowledge to a new setting. Now, don't get the idea of new to like it's totally unrelated. It's not unrelated, but so application is most easily seen when someone solves a problem. How many of you have ever solved a problem? You have. When you solved a problem, you were presented with a problem, right? So we're getting real deep into the psychology of solving problems, okay? Psychology of solving problems. I have a problem. What do I have to do? I look at the problem and I identify that there's some things in there, in that problem, that I've seen before. Why have I seen it before? Because I learned something before, right? And the thing I learned before, I did more than just learn, I understand it, okay? I understand a principle, and I see a connection between this problem and something I know. So I identify the problem, I identify the type of problem, I reach back over here to all the different things that I know and understand, and I choose one of them to apply to the problem. Application. Right? So I take this and I apply it to the problem. The problem is new. I haven't seen the problem before. If I've got a whole page of them, I've seen problems just like it, but not that problem. Okay? Understand? So the problem, and the teacher gave me a bunch where I'm always going to use this solution. Why? For drill. Okay? And the teacher probably told me, the book was written in such a way, but when I get to the test, there's going to be 17 different problems, and they're all going to need, I know 17 things, but I have to look at these problems, how does that apply to this? Choose this one, take it, apply it to this problem, solve the problem correctly. Application. Does that explain to you, hopefully, what application is? Okay, so it takes wisdom. Now, we very much put wisdom on a high spiritual level. But using knowledge correctly, wisdom, if we use that idea of wisdom, it takes wisdom to solve a problem. I have a problem. I have lots of information. I can't just throw everything I know at it. I can't just throw anything I know at it. I have to choose wisely the right solution, the right thing that I know, and apply it to the problem. And then I get an A. Right? Okay, so that's application. Analysis. Analysis is when you reduce complex issues into its components. Reduce complex issues into its components. So analysis, we could say, okay, guys, you're watching the football game, right? Or you're listening to the baseball game. Nobody's eyes are lighting up. What? Okay, all right. So, and there's always two people, right? There's always two people. There's the play-by-play guy, and what is he doing? He's just describing what is happening. He's kind of just giving you information. He's giving you knowledge. It's up to you to comprehend what he's talking about. How many of you have ever listened to the play-by-play and had no idea what's going on? You ever turned a hockey game on the radio? It's like, what is that? Well, they must have scored. Okay, that's kind of the knowledge, and depending on your understanding to put it together. But who's the other guy? He's the analyst, right? And what is he doing? How many of you you're probably none of you old enough. Maybe not. What's his name? John Madden. He's the analyst, right? All of a sudden, the screen freezes, and he got X's and O's and lines going all over. And he saw this whole play. When we watched the play, we were like, there's the quarterback, there's the ball. Wow. How did they do that? I don't know. But he took those 22 guys on the field, saw how this guy did this guy missed that, this guy pushed this guy out of the way, and all of a sudden there's a hole and it was a touchdown. To us, it was a touchdown. We were excited. He broke down all the different parts, right? Breaking it down. You're going to break it down. Analyze it. Okay? So, and in an academic sense, it takes wisdom. He's got a lot of experience. He's seen it, but you look at the big picture and say, what are the different parts of this? And it's kind of fun, humorous to think about that in sports. But let's just take no explanation, no analysis, but just showing that something that's not like that needs analysis. Syrian refugees. Is that just one thing, or is there a lot of different parts to that? There's a lot of different parts to that. There really is. And so, you can't say, or immigration. We need to solve immigration. We need one comprehensive bill. A comprehensive bill will take care of immigration. All we need is one solution. No, we don't need just one solution. We have all kinds of issues going on. We need to break them down. What's the problem here? What's the solution there? Break this down, whatever. Okay? So that's the idea of analysis. And it takes wisdom. You have to know some stuff, you have to understand some stuff, and then you have to say, okay, how does this, you recognize similarities here and similarities here and differences here and here, and you break things into its components. Analysis. Okay? Synthesis. All right, so if analysis is breaking something down, what is synthesis? Joy? Combining, okay. That's exactly the same idea as I thought, but I couldn't read your lips because I was thinking of putting things together. Okay, putting things together and combining. See, now everybody look at me. See, they don't look the same. So I couldn't read her lips. But combining, putting things together. A word that we use academically is creating. Synthesis blends older ideas into new or creative uses. Now, don't let the word old make you think of medieval. Maybe we should say synthesis uses known ideas and puts them to new or creative uses. Okay, it's not like it's old. It is old in the sense that I already know it. It already exists. How many of you have ever created something? All of you have. All of you have. Okay. Can you all think of the time when you created something? How many of you ever did a book report? Okay. What did you take? You took somebody else's words, you read it, and you took old stuff, you took stuff that you knew, and you created something. No, nothing, the words in the order that you put them together never existed before you put them in that order. Hopefully. Otherwise it was plagiarism and you're a thief. Right? Right? So I guess I'm trying to say, this is academic knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis. Big word, synthesis. Only people, in graduate school ever do synthesis. No. Third graders do synthesis. It's not very beautiful, but it's synthesis. They take something, they take information they know, and they create something with it. So anytime you write a paper, that's creativity. Maybe your paper is not as creative as someone else's, but you're creating something. So that's synthesis. And you can't. Okay, have you ever seen, maybe the third grader isn't synthesizing, they're just trying. And it doesn't look very good because they have no understanding. Think about what would the product be if you had knowledge, no understanding, and you created something. We've probably seen stuff like this. If you read something, it occurs to me that I was talking yesterday, I read something somebody wrote, and I knew more about the subject, very, very important details about the subject that was clear he didn't know. And since he didn't know those things, he didn't understand the situation, and his creativity or his evaluation of the situation was totally without merit. Because what he created was made without all the facts. Okay? So, let's say you can create something without understanding, but it is not going to be very reliable, valid, whatever, worthwhile, anything like that. Okay? So we really need wisdom in order to create something, right? See how that synthesis is kind of a subset of wisdom? Using information wisely. Okay? When we analyze, we use our knowledge wisely to break something down. When we create something, synthesize, we use what we know to put it together in the correct manner, in a pleasing manner. Finally, evaluation. Evaluation. So evaluation is the idea, and this is the idea of generates criteria for judging. When we say the word evaluation, you probably automatically think of judging. Maybe maybe that word didn't come to mind, but if I'm going to evaluate you, if you come up for evaluation, you're getting judged, right? The important thing academically, the important thing in this list, as far as, since this is in the cognitive domain, it's that there's a criteria. Generates a criteria for evaluation, or for judging. Okay? So, if you come up for evaluation, let's say Sarah comes up for evaluation, and I say, Sarah, you're terrible. Okay? You're terrible. And here's the reasons. In this area, you haven't done this. In this area, you've done it wrong. You're messing up all the time. In this area, this, and okay. So what do I have? I have criteria, and she knows she's terrible. Okay? Right? So, but there's criteria. There's reasons. There's reasoning. Right? Okay. Let's restart that. You know what? You're terrible. And you know why? Because I don't like you. Is there any reasoning there? No. Okay? If somebody comes to me and says, what do you think of Sarah? Says, I don't know anything, but I just don't like her. What is that? What is it? There's a word for it. I don't know, but I think. You ever said that? I don't know, but I think. What are you giving when you say, I don't know, but I think? An opinion. Okay? So in the technical sense, in a technical sense, all opinions have no rationale. They have no reasoning. When you say, I don't know, what are you saying? I don't have any reasons, but this is what I think. This is my opinion. So opinions are irrational. They are, right? They have no rationale for them. Now, sometime when you say, this is my opinion, in fact, one of my favorite men to read, pastors to read, has a blog, and it's called What is Truth? And the subtitle is Opinion Based on the Bible. Okay, so opinion based on the Bible, or based on the truth, is really going to be evaluation, right? Because it's, what is he doing? If he's doing what his title says, he's looking at something and he's looking at a criteria. He's measuring it, he's judging it according to a criteria, and his criteria is the Bible. Okay? So he's really giving an evaluation. But how many people would read his blog if he said evaluation according to biblical criteria? I mean, we would still read it. But if he says opinion based on truth, that kind of has a little more ring to it. In our culture, we have mushy definitions. It's about the same thing, and if we're listening in context, we understand that he's not just given a wild-eyed, irrational opinion. When we read it, we can tell, oh, that's not an opinion. He's going to the Bible here, going to there. Okay? But to use words the way they are meant to be used, evaluation is when we generate a criteria, build a criteria to make a judgment. That takes knowledge, that takes comprehension. We should wisely put together this list that we're going to judge something against, right? Have you ever been judged on the wrong criteria? Somebody came to you, Sarah, you're doing terrible, and this is why, this is why, this is why, and you walked away and said, I didn't even know any of those were things I was supposed to be doing. That's the wrong criteria, or you were uninformed about the criteria. If you had known, okay, or if the person judging knew that you had no idea about that criteria, they wouldn't have judged you. They would have said, you know, I'm interested in you also doing these things. Right? Okay? So evaluation, casting judgment against a criteria or with a criteria. Without a criteria, without a rationale for the statement, it becomes an opinion. So, when we talk about Bloom's taxonomy, when you hear the word Bloom's taxonomy, when you're reading something and say Bloom said, Bloom's taxonomy teaches us it's referring to our mental facilities, to our knowledge, to our brain, to our cognitive domain. And everything in the cognitive domain starts with knowledge. You do have to, currently you'll hear things about critical thinking skills. These 4 are the critical thinking skills. And there's a huge thing, or higher order thinking skills. Critical and higher order are the same. So we want our elementary students, we got to get stuff that gets them into the higher order thinking skills. Higher order thinking skills. Can an elementary student make application? Sure, on an elementary level. Can they analyze? A little. As an elementary student. Can they create? I just said they could do a book report. Can they evaluate? That's going to be a little hard. If I give them the criterion, they might be able to say, oh, that's not there, that is there. They can evaluate. So, can they do higher order thinking skills? Yes. But most of the time, people that are saying, we got to get them in these higher order thinking skills, we're asking them questions about things that they have no knowledge or no understanding. That's why I picture it this way. You can't do these until you have this. You can't even do these until you have this, comprehension. Now, all of us are all over the page here. There's all kinds of things. We're out here on all kinds of things we don't even have knowledge about, right? And then we're in here on stuff, we know about it, but we have no idea. We don't understand it at all, okay? And then there's things that we do understand, but we've never really had to use them for any purpose. Okay? And then there's some things that we have made application, we've done all these things too. So depending on the subject, we're anywhere on this. But in order to do this, you have to have this and this. Okay? So if an elementary class teacher wants to say, I want to get to higher order thinking skills, they need to realize that the only higher order thinking skills they'll do will be on a very basic, very elementary level. But what happens in our secular curriculums is that we address really complex issues, and you end up oversimplifying, or you don't have any comprehension, and you're getting students end up saying things and kind of thinking they can believe things and have thought through things that they have no idea about, because they might know some names, but they have no comprehension. And without comprehension, you can't do the rest.